Good day, children. This point, we will be talking about the muscular system, which is our second system after, or the third system after integumentary and the skeletal system. So the muscle system or the muscular system functions to produce bodily movements, stabilizes body position, it stores and moves substances within the body in the form of energy or ATP, and it generates heat through the metabolic events happening in muscle cells, such as your glycolysis. The relation of which is due to the fact that the muscles require high energy input. For it to be able to function, it needs or it requires high energy input. So the properties of a muscle tissue is that one, it has electrical excitability, its ability to respond to stimuli such as the generation of action potentials, by producing electrical signals. Not only does it produce electrical signals, it can also perceive or receive electrical signals. So its excitability depends on the electrical signals generated by action potentials. These action potentials are generated by the electrolytes present in blood, such as sodium, potassium, chloride, and calcium. Contractility, it is the muscle's basic function, or the basic property of a muscle tissue is that it is able to contract. It is the ability of the muscle to contract forcefully when stimulated by an action potential. Extensibility is the ability of the muscle to stretch without being damaged, but of course, you cannot overstretch your muscles because it can lead to wear and tear injuries, wherein of course your muscle tissues has its limit, wherein it cannot be overstretched to a certain point nga magisi ang inyong muscle. Literally nga magisi siya, ripping it apart one fiber to another. Next is elasticity, its ability to return to its original length and shape after contraction and relaxation. Muscles vary according to function. One, we have voluntary muscles, which are muscles that contract under conscious will. So it is done under your own volition. Pwede nga ikaw ang ma-choose to move that muscle or to not move that muscle. We have muscles such as your biceps, you have your triceps, your quads, your quadriceps, your hamstring. Basically, these are your skeletal muscles. Next, you have involuntary muscles, which are muscles who contract that are not under the conscious will of the individual. Meaning, you cannot force these muscles to stop their function or to stop contracting. One best example of which would be the heart, the GI tract, or your gastrointestinal tract, the airways, the blood vessels, the bladder. You also have your uterus for the females. And according to structure, we can differentiate them: skeletal, cardiac, or smooth. Going to them one by one, skeletal muscles, its microscopic appearance is that it has long cylindrical fiber with many peripherally located nuclei. So if we are to zoom into the picture, this is a muscle tissue. This is one whole muscle fiber here. And its nuclei is located on the periphery. Ara siya sa higad. When we say peripheral, it is located on the surroundings, or it is located at the sides. So towards the sides ang iyang nuclei. So this is the whole cell, for example, and its nucleus is found in its periphery. Its location is that it is attached primarily to bones by tendons. Its nervous control is voluntary, which is under the somatic nervous system, and they function for motion, posture, and heat production. Next, we have the cardiac muscles, which are branched cylindrical fibers with one centrally located nucleus. Here, we can see that they are cylindrical also, but they are branched. Like, for example, this one has a branch to this one, and it goes continuous like that. So, it is branching like this one. This muscle here is a branch of this one whole muscle, which also branches out to the sides. And the nuclei, or the nucleus, is located central within the muscle fiber. So unlike your skeletal muscles, the nucleus is located centrally, and there is the presence of intercalated discs, which cannot be appreciated in this picture. But here you can see that these intercalated discs over here separates or attaches neighboring cardiac muscle fibers. It is striated. It also has the presence of striations like the skeletal muscle, which also has striations here. Its nervous control is of course involuntary, because you cannot stop the contractility of your heart by natural means, meaning hindi mo siya mabalance stop. But you can stop the beating of the heart, of course, by giving certain drugs such as your anti-contractility drugs, potassium chloride, KCl, which is the one that they use for lethal injection in death sentence. Bala, if you've heard, kaya mo na siyang gina-inject for lethal injection. And then your potassium, kasi increased potassium will stop the heart from beating. The heart will cease to beat, or this heart will cease to contract. So, but you cannot, by natural means, by natural phenomena, you cannot control the heart to stop beating. But you can stop it when you use drugs such as your potassium, your anti-contractility drugs. Okay, but of course, we do not use them under normal circumstances. They function to pump blood in all parts of the body. Of course, that's the basic function of the heart. In order to identify, or in order for you to easily identify which muscles are found or which muscles are present in which parts of the body, their names are already clues to where they are found, how big the muscles are, what their function could be, or their orientation, their direction, or even their size. So talking about direction, it is the orientation of the muscle relative to the body's midline, which is found here, an imaginary line dividing the body from right and left anatomical position. So rectus, it means it is parallel to the midline, while transversus or transverse, it means it is perpendicular to the midline, and oblique, it means that it's diagonal to the midline. So here we have your external obliques, which is diagonal here, and then we have your internal obliques, which is diagonal to the midline relative to this midline here. You have your transversus abdominis, which lies perpendicular, perpendicular to the midline. I'll show how the fibers are going that way. So it's perpendicular. Next, we have your rectus abdominis, or the abs, which the muscle fibers of which are running parallel to the midline. So that is one way of identifying the structure or the muscle. Next, size, which is of course relative to the size of the muscle. Maximus, it means it is the largest of its subsets. Minimus is the smallest of its subsets, like the gluteus. We have the gluteus maximus and the gluteus minimus. Major is that it is larger, and minor, it is smaller. We have the teres muscles, the teres major and the teres minor. It means that the teres minor is smaller than that of the teres major. When we say magnus or vastus, it means it is large or huge, vast, lapad siya. Longus or longissimus, it means it is long relative to the other muscles. Brevis, it means it is short. And latissimus, it means it is the widest. So here, we have here the different muscles found in the body. I will leave it to you guys to memorize these muscles. But let us go to them one by one. Here, the muscles of the head and the neck. The frontalis is the frontalis muscle, covering or attached to your frontal bone. The temporalis, of course, it's found in the temples. The occipitalis found at the back. We have here the muscles of mastication. We have your masseter, which has 2 heads. Then we have the sternocleidomastoid, or your SCM, which is found from the neck. It is attached to this part of the cranium. Then we have the platysma, which connects the chin to the neck, the trapezius, or the trapezoid, which at the back looks like, of course, a trapezoid. The zygomaticus, here are your cheek muscles. Your orbicularis oculi is the muscles found here, and your orbicularis oculi is responsible for your for the eye bags. Then we have the buccinator. It's found here. It is a muscle of smiling. And next you have your orbicularis oris. Orbicular, it means it is circular. So it orbits, it circulates the mouth, same as your orbicularis oculi, which circulates or encircles the eyes. Next, we have the muscles of the trunk. We have your serratus anterior. Because they are serrated, it looks like they are serrated. You have your serratus anterior. Your pectoralis major, which is your pectorals, the muscles of the breasts. Then we have transversus abdominis, which is found deepest. The internal oblique, which is found at the middle. This is the deepest. And the external oblique, which is the most superficial of the 3. Then we have the rectus abdominis, which is found, of course, the abs. Then we have the muscles of the upper limbs, your triceps brachia. It's triceps because it has 3 seps or 3 heads. Then your biceps is, of course, it has 2 heads. So your biceps brachii is found on the ventral surface, while the triceps are found in the dorsal surface. Then we have the brachialis muscles, the brachioradialis, your pronator teres, the forearm extensors, the forearm flexors, the wrist extensors, and the wrist flexors. Then the muscles of the shoulder, we have the clavicle here, which is a bone. Then your deltoid, this is where usually the IM injection or your intramuscular injection is given. And you have the sternum at the center, the pectoralis major, the biceps brachii, the brachialis, and the brachioradialis. For you to easily memorize these muscles, I am instructing you to really do the coloring properly, color everything so that it will help you memorize these muscles. Then we have muscles of the lower limb. So at the back, we have your gastrocnemius. Then we have your soleus, your peroneus longus. For the muscles of the limbs, for the muscles of the lower limbs or even the upper limbs, I just want you to memorize the big muscles, such as your ellipsoas, your sartorius, the vastus lateralis, the adductor magnus, vastus medialis. As vastus medialis, as it is located in the midline, it is of course medial. And then your vastus lateralis, it is away from the midline. That is why it's called vastus lateralis. You have your peroneus longus, the sartorius, the gastrocnemius. The gastrocnemius is also tibialis anterior, your soleus. The gastrocnemius, siya known as pusog-pusugan in layman's term. Okay? So that ends the discussion for the muscular system. Prepare for a quiz on the 18th. We will be having two quizzes, the muscular system and the quiz for vital signs part 1, which includes blood pressure, temperature, and heart rate or your pulse rate. Thank you very much.